What is going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of the UGA Sports Postgame Overreaction show. There's not much to overreact about except for the Dogs going back to back. I'm your host, Paul Maharry, joined by Trent Smallwood of UGAsports.com. First off, congratulations, Dawg fans. You are the back-to-back national title championship team, 65-7 over TCU. I mean, this was Stetson was so choked up for words, Trent, trying to explain this. I'm having trouble trying to explain this, and I do this for a living. Like it's just tough to talk about 65-7. Trent, I'm gonna let you get the first thoughts in.
I mean, that Georgia came out focused, and I heard all day, and this is one of the things I heard all day. Georgia's the tight team. TCU's playing with nothing to lose. And I said, that's not the way it is. Georgia, it has a championship. Georgia is the team everybody in the country is chasing. So the team, Georgia's not the tight team. Georgia is playing with the national championship in their pocket. And they came out and looked like they did. They started the season and ended the season just with total domination performances.
Yeah, so if you're new to the show, hey there. If you're new to the show, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that like button on the video and also call in. There's a link in the description for you to join us. It's going to be a long night. Joe is right. It's going to be a long night. A lot of folks out there in LA celebrating. Heck, it's only 8:30 out there. They got time to go party, Trent. Back home over here, it's 11:30. So,
what a performance for Stetson to go out on. After all the criticism he got, and I know last year's championship was sweet, but he was surrounded by defense full of first rounders. This year, it was on Stetson to win the national championship. And I know he has a bunch of weapons with Brock and all that stuff, but Stetson won games this year, and Stetson capped it off with a 6 touchdown performance. I mean, what a career.
Yeah, I mean, and there's been plenty of doubt. You can see it on our page. You go back and watch some of our older videos, Trent. We hated on him, right? We did. And I think everybody did. Kirby Smart did. Todd Monken did. And he just proved everybody wrong.
If we're overreacting, Pod missed his last damn extra point of the year. I mean, what's happening?
Yeah, they had a different holder in because they didn't put Stetson back in there. But we're going to get to that. Scratching Dogs fan, he's talking about go ahead and retire that number 13 jersey. We're going to get there 15-0. 15. You didn't lose a game. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Guys, if you're watching us, let us know where you're watching from. We'll make sure to shout you out on the show. Put it in the comments. We'll put it up on the screen for you. We've got our first caller here. It's going to be a long night, Trent. We're going to have some folks calling in. Like I said, 65-7. I don't think anybody expected this, but we've got our first caller, Andy. Andy, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Could y'all imagine, really 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that Georgia's being back-to-back national champions? And not only, I thought, we were talking earlier, I thought they would win easily. I thought 37-17. They killed this team. This was, you almost start feeling bad for TCU when toward the middle of the game. It's incredible. I don't know.
You look at it, and Georgia is a 2nd and 28 or whatever away from having 3 titles in 5 years. I mean, it is remarkable what Kirby's done to this program.
It's wild, and you see, it's just it's not slowing down. You lose all those guys to the draft, and then it's, that's what I'm watching the post game of Herbie and Chris Fowler, and that's what they're like. It's not changing. They're doing it as good as anybody. It's I don't know. You saw when TCU scored that touchdown and then Georgia came right back down and scored. It was over then. That game was you knew right then there was nothing they could do. So
I said earlier tonight, and I was talking one of my buddies. I said this is the least talented team Georgia will have over the next 3 years, and they went 15-0.
Yeah, you were mentioning that on the recruiting show last week or something, and I know you start oh God, can they go 3 in a row? But maybe they can. It's going to be.
Why not? Right now, you look at the schedule next year. It doesn't look tough or daunting. You have to go to Tennessee late in the year. but by that time, Tennessee will probably be faded out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if we're going to overreact to anything, right? I think last week was the national championship game.
It was.
For all intents and purposes. Ohio State probably should have been against Georgia tonight, and it would have been a hell of a matchup, a dogfight, because both teams only would have had a week to prepare for each other as opposed to a whole month. I would have loved to have seen that. Instead,
I think, and what you're talking about, this goes back to the way the playoff was ranked. If TCU would have been they were the logical 4 seed, Georgia would have taken care of them in the first round, and they had to get Michigan or Ohio State tonight. Probably Ohio State, because I don't think Michigan could beat Ohio State twice, and you would have had your national championship.
Well, it's odd that they kept saying, "Oh, they don't want a repeat of Ohio State and Michigan," and but like my thing is like, why wouldn't you split it up so you most likely at least get one Big Ten team in the thing? Because they want the Big Ten to be good. I mean, they don't care about TCU, but like that's what was odd to me why they didn't split it up that way. Because I mean, like I said, TCU, they're good, but come on, this team is. What are they, 4th best? I mean, they would lose to South Carolina probably. So it's maybe, I don't know. But
when I was going through all the stats in pregame, and I looked at Tommen Mitchell, and he couldn't get on the field at Georgia, and he's played 300 snaps this year for TCU. I said TCU is going to be in for a long night. And nothing against Tommen Mitchell, it's nothing against either, but they do not have the Jimmies and Joes that Georgia has, and it showed.
Okay, well, answer this. If Georgia played its number 2 offense and number 2 defense, did they win this game?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean they put their number 2s in and won 21-0 at the end there.
So, if you put the number 2s in, Branson Robinson is the best running back on the field.
Branson Robinson is going to be a problem. That guy, you saw how he was running. That he's going to be a problem next year.
Hey, this is the offense that returns Ladd McConkey, returns Brock Bowers. Returns Oscar Delp, returns all the running backs, but Kenny McIntosh, AD Mitchell. You return Amarius Mims on the offensive line. It's just
Smith.
Yeah,
it's just endless. And then you get the 2 wide receiver transfers in. That offense is not going away. Whatever quarterback is in, whether it be Beck or whether it be Vandegrift or whether it be Gunnar Stockton. Your pantry is full of weapons, and this offense is going to be just as good next year. And I think the defense is going to take a step in the right direction because you got Michael and Bear Alexander and all those freshmen on the field that are going to be 1 year older.
Right, Bear's going to be a problem. He's a big dude, and you could see he was causing some havoc in the middle.
I mean, you got Bear, who I think did they give him 2 sacks or did they give him a sack and a tackle for loss? Let's see here. They gave him 1 sack and a tackle for loss. Probably should have been 2 sacks.
Yeah.
But you have Bear coming baback. You've got Michael Williams, both going to be sophomores next year. Marvin Jones Jr. will be rushing from the other edge. Then you've got
Jelon Walker.
Jelon. Oh my God, Walker. And then you have both of your inside backers back for another year.
Yeah.
And they're going to be absolutely dominant. Then you have Lassiter back at corner. You have Starks back at safety. You replace Ringo with Everett. You find another safety, which you've got.
And you got Bullard. You got the MVP back at both playoff games.
Yeah.
I mean,
you'll probably have
these
Smoke
guys
Louis.
aren't going anywhere.
No, it's going to be – it's crazy. Like I said, I mean, I always knew Georgia could be elite, just because of all the resources. But what Kirby has done, it's wild. I mean, it's – me and my friends were talking. We're like, look at Brock Bowers. Like, I want him here, but that dude – he should get a waiver to go to the NFL. He's better than probably 90% of the tight ends in the NFL. So.
Yeah. Indy Clip, he watches all the stuff. He says, let's overreact to go for 3 and 23. I like that.
Hey, I don't think it's overreacting. So
I don't think it is either. KD, DSGB, back-to-back, baby. Congrats on your team there. And then Thomas right here. Thomas Du says, is this Georgia defense going to be better next season? Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is the weakest Georgia's defense has been since early part of Kirby's career. And, we've been talking about that all year long. It's just the secondary was an issue. Having 2 new inside linebackers was the issue. We knew Jalen Carter was there, but he was hurt most of the year. Just the defensive line being new.
Your top wide receiver, AD Mitchell, was out for the whole year.
I mean, what all you overcame to go 15-0, and I know everybody's like, "Well, they only beat Missouri by this much," but you were missing so many players throughout the year, and to overcome all the NFL guys, all the injuries to the key guys that you had returned, Nolan Smith. I mean, you were basically down to me and you at outside linebacker, and you won the national championship 65-7. So.
Don't tell Ohio State and Alabama that you can still win without hurt players. That's against the rules. And
see, I just, Andy, that's funny you bring that up. I was talking to a couple buddies of mine, and I said there is going to be a way that Quentin Johnston gets hurt in this game somehow.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow it's going to happen, and TCU is going to lose by 10 points or something. They're going to say, "Oh, if Quentin Johnston didn't get hurt in the third quarter, that didn't happen." Okay, yeah. They won 65-7. Nobody got hurt. If anything, Georgia lost their most valuable player on defense.
Bullard was looking. I mean, he was out there. That interception he made over his shoulder, that was great. Like, I mean,
didn't Bullard also get the fumble recovery on that?
Yeah, he was 3 turnovers.
Yeah,
just unbelievable.
That Joker got MVP and only played a half.
Yeah,
and so is there an update on the shoulder?
Yeah. No, I don't think there's going to be an update. They probably won't be. Until they get back to Athens, would be my guess. Somebody will ask Kirby tonight, but he'll just say that he came out the game.
He could have went back in.
Yeah, could have went back in. Omari Carmichael says Saban leaving to do broadcasting. That's funny, Omari. What is funny though is I know you guys caught it. I'm gonna get you on in a second, Anthony, and we'll get Andy up out of here. But I know both of you guys saw it because you're on Twitter all the time. David Pollack right in front of Nick Saban talking about how George is the next dynasty.
Saban looked like someone took his heart and just threw it on the ground and stomped on it. Like that was like, you could tell he was just about to cry. He just kind of did like the little, just like, oh, don't know what to say. So.
Walker Dog says Saban saw them dogs on the field and maybe rethinking his plans for next season. It's a tough, I mean, Georgia's going to be a tough out from here on out, man. And it's only going to get stronger. The portal for Georgia, they're going to lose some guys. So, here's a fair warning to everybody watching. They're going to lose some guys. You didn't lose anybody. Well, you lost one guy, Bill Norton, to Arizona early. But you're going to lose some guys to the portal. It's going to happen. But at the same time, Kirby and his staff have the pick of the litter when it comes to the portal in terms of guys that are in there. So, it's going to be one of those things where you're going to see some names that enter into the portal. You're like, man, I'm going to miss those guys. Don't worry. Kirby's going to reload there. So, Andy, I got to get Anthony in here. He's already smoked 6 cigarettes. I've watched him do it in our waiting room. I need to save him. So,
all right. Well, I'll say one thing: go Dogs, and make sure everyone, if you haven't, subscribe to UGA Sports. You get the most news you can in there. Like, I mean, you get it all. So subscribe.
Oh, man.
There you go.
Take it easy, man.
See y'all.
Appreciate you.
Go Dogs.
Yeah, man. Oh boy, you ready? Have you experienced Anthony Trump?
Dude, I've been on here for 2 years. So come on now.
Oh boy,
here he is.
Wow!
How you feeling, bud?
I'm feeling great, but look, I've been sick, and I stayed up late because I wanted to come on. I'm not going to take up a whole lot of time, but I just want to let Nick Saban know, because he was in the booth and he got to watch it firsthand. That's what a rebuilding team looks like.
Tell him.
15 NFL draft picks, a walk-on quarterback, and we don't have to suck hind tit in the college football playoff rankings while you sit there and you watch the best team go back-to-back in the national championship. Why? So you're stuck on that, and I'm not going to swear one time tonight, Paul. I'm going to start the season off right. I'm going to start the off-season off right. Not swearing tonight.
Thank you.
But I'll tell you what, those boys kicked some hind tail where they needed to.
65-7
we could have scored 1 trillion if we wanted to.
Can you
This is the great college football, and I'm not a crap talker. And man, I'm really trying really hard not to say bad word. I don't talk a lot of junk. If somebody wants to start it, I can state facts. I can dig. I can do all that stuff. But Georgia is the new dynasty, and you can mark my words. Nick Saban watched from the top as his protege rose above him, and there's not a dang thing he can do about it. I'm going to leave on that. Everybody have a great night. And like the gentleman said before, subscribe, join the vent. UGA Sports is the greatest. Paul, I love you guys, and I'll see you guys during the offseason, man.
Hey, Anthony, I hope you feel better, man. This one was for you tonight.
Thank you, brother. Love you guys.
All right, man. See ya. We got a donation here from Matthew Cotton. He donates in pounds, Trent, because he's over across the pond. He says, how about them? We're not going to cuss tonight. How about them dogs? Was worth staying up late as hell. Yeah, Matt. Congrats to you, man. Man.
Paul, would you say, looking back at the 18, the Rose Bowl team, and with Sony and Nick and looking at this team, and looking at last year's team, this is the best coaching job Kirby Smart has done in his career at Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, because you look at this defense at the start of the year, I didn't think they had it. That defensive line looked rough to me, man, outside of Jalen Carter. And he made Warren Brinson and Tramel Walther and Nazir Stackhouse work.
Zion Logue.
Yeah, I mean, he made all those guys work. And I remember being on here. It's been 15 weeks. They're 15-0. They had an off week. So, I don't know, probably about 5 months ago, talking to the preseason, saying, look, guys, I don't know about this defensive line. You got Jalen Carter. Outside of him, I don't know what can stick. And those guys rotated. They did a great job of that.
It's pretty obvious because you got the freshman. I mean, you got Michael Williams that started every game, that's played the most snaps out of any defensive lineman this season for Georgia. He's a true freshman and it's not because he ain't good. It's because Georgia had nobody to play the position besides Tramel Walther. And the way they've pieced it together on the defensive line and the way Trey Scott has developed Nazir Stackhouse and Warren Brinson and Zion Logue, it's just remarkable.
Yeah, those guys. And then also, I knew the offense was going to be good because the offensive line was a trend so much. We had some questions at running back. Kenny Mack answered those full throttle this whole year.
Kendall down the stretch
late. Yeah. I mean, I think he's a guy that if you can convince him to come back and not transfer, not go to the NFL, because I think he would put up stupid numbers if he went to the combine.
And I think he already said he was coming back, but they could still make up and still change their minds. But I would expect him and Dejon Edwards to come back right now.
Yeah, I mean, and if you get those guys to come back, I think Kendall can really have a special year next year. Amari gave us $1.99. He said Anthony's in the Hall of Fame in the POS. He absolutely is. Anthony's one of my favorites, man. We'll hear from the Godfather shortly, Eddie from Ackworth, if he didn't fall asleep. He is an old fella. He should be calling in soon, though. Let's see here. I want to try to get some of these comments, guys. Travis Vaught says Stetson Bennett is the GOAT. Okay. We talked about this last week.
He is.
Is he above Herschel now? See, you said yes before I asked the question.
He has 2 national titles. He doesn't have the Heisman. He doesn't have the Heisman. But if you went back and re-ranked those Heismans right now, what would it look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Duggan would be number 2.
Right.
Stetson might not win it, but he's going to be top 2.
Yeah, he's going to be top 2. So I guess that begs the question. I think 2 national titles, technically 4 MVPs, right? Because he's got the 2, what do you call those games? Playoff games? Just playoff games? 2 playoff game MVPs and then 2 national title MVPs. So he's got 4 MVPs under his belt. His numbers in all these games are ridiculous. I think he's the best. He's the best.
Just tell me what his stats are in the playoffs. That's all I want to know, because he had 6 touchdowns today, no interceptions. He had 1 interception at Ohio State. That's the only interception he's thrown in the playoffs in 2 years. I think it was something like 19 total touchdowns and 1 interception. It's just insane. I mean,
apparently Scott Van Pelt from Zachary Tinkler says he's talking about Stetson as one of the best college QBs of all time. I think he is, man. I think he is. And this is a guy that at the beginning of last season, Trent, he didn't start.
No.
The coaches didn't believe in him.
Did he throw for 300 against Michigan last year? I think he did. So he threw for 300 plus in all 4 games.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's Amari Carmichael says Stetson better than Tebow. I could see it.
I'm not arguing that. I mean,
yeah, I'm not arguing it either. Man, let's see. The greatest team ever. They would destroy 95 Nebraska by 50 plus.
I don't know about that.
Explode. I don't know about that, man.
That's a little overreaction, but
a little crazy there.
They probably have more team speed than that team.
Yeah, they do. A lot of people calling for retiring number 13, man. So let's get Roddy Nabulsian here. Roddy, you're down in the pits there in the dungeon of SoFi. How is that stadium, by the way?
It's a very weird stadium because it's got a roof on it.
But
it's
rain
not a
can
dome.
get in. Yeah.
It's pouring rain, so I went and got a bunch of confetti. It's sodden, man. The rain's coming in sideways, so I don't know how this stuff's going to work out. But
just get the hairdryer back at the hotel and just put it in there.
I'll carve people off a piece, that want it. So it's a lot of people are getting wet, and even the people underneath the roof leaks. And they don't get rain here in Southern California. That's just basically a roof to keep the sun off people. So, but yeah, it's a very interesting stadium. A lot more TCU fans were here than I expected. I would say it was 60-40, maybe 55-45. I kept hearing they did buy out their allotment of tickets. Well, they were here and they were loud for at least one play. That's about it. Damn.
Yeah.
I'm still stunned. Absolutely stunned at what I saw there.
How quiet did it get? I mean, when did TCU's fans just check out? Like at what point?
31-7.
They were just gone. They were done.
And then they were in it because they'd been in a hole before. They'd seen this guy come back, They'd seen them, fight and claw their way, and they just believed that magic was still there. Remember, they had to run on the field the last second and kick a field goal, and they did it in 11 seconds. They got down a couple times. They just had utmost belief that we can grind our way back into it. But after that second turnover, right before the half, and that just
when it was 31-7, and you thought, hey, if TCU goes and gets points before the half, make it 31-14, this is going to be a game in the second half, and then the Bullard intercepts his second pass, and then the wind was just totally sucked out.
Yeah, they were done. I mean, I wouldn't say I was gloating at that point because we remember that, Georgia went in against LSU, 35-7, something like that. I mean, they put up a bunch of points on them. And then LSU had, 17 points in the second half or something, the third quarter. But no, you can just see it. And here's the thing, guys. You know that I'm going to be Munson-esque. I'm going to worry about every possible thing and worry about Georgia coming out flat, stuff like that. When I knew Georgia had won this game was at the media day on Saturday. I walked in at the tail end of the TCU media day. Their defensive linemen were sitting around the table, because that's how they set them up. And I looked at them, and I'm like, those kids are midgets. They're small. These guys would not make a roster in the SEC. Their biggest player was Tymone Mitchell, not a monster at Georgia. And then I wish I could show it. Maybe I have it, maybe I can bring it on the screen here. But at one point, I saw Amarius Mims, Xavier Truss, Warren Erickson, and Warren McClendon kind of standing, talking together. And I felt like I was in the Redwood Forest. I've been to California before. I've been to the Redwoods, standing next to those four guys. I mean, I'm 5'10 and a half, 5'11. Those guys just, you crane your neck looking up at them. And I'm like, those guys are going to fold that TCU defensive line. I don't care if you go 3.35 or 3.57 or 750 and 1,000. It's it's physics. And what did we see right off the bat? They just blew right past them. And then saw the guards for TCU. Did you see how round those kids were?
Oh yeah, they're busting out can of biscuit.
They're as wide as they are tall. And yeah, they take a while to get around. But I mean, when you watch Georgia's defensive linemen, you see Warren Brinson, Bear Alexander, Jalen Carter. I mean, those look like thoroughbreds. These guys look like trail ponies, just big guts. And I'm thinking the athleticism, it's night and day. Now, I thought maybe Quentin Johnson could do some stuff. Max Dugan could rally him. But no, it's just when it came to the trenches, Georgia owned the trenches thoroughly. I've never seen a butt kicking like that. I mean, this is a legendary game. This will go down in history as the biggest blowout in a championship football game. And Georgia's going to be defending national champions for 2 years. We're going to be seeing posts. It's been 500 days since Georgia was not a national champion. It's been 600 days since Georgia was not a national champion. I'll probably be the one tweeting that stuff.
Speaking of your confetti, Nicole Valerie says, Stet, make some wet. Talking about your confetti there. So maybe put that on a T-shirt. Well, actually, let's not put anything on T-shirts.
Let's not put anything on T-shirts.
Let's
6 touchdowns, man.
Well,
Georgia on tap says, Roddy, we made it, man. Marlon says, three-peat.
I will tell you all a story off the that we didn't get a. It wasn't on air, if you will. It was a conversation I had with Carson Beck. I went up to Carson and asked him something about a game in his high school football career that I was trying to remember on his championship run when he was playing football in Jacksonville. And I said, look, in 24 hours, or it's going to be 48 hours, you are the number one story. Georgia's going to win his second national title, and then everyone's going to say, can they three-peats? Who's the guy? There's going to be a magnifying glass on you like you've never seen. He goes, I can't wait. And they says, I've been waiting for this so bleeping long. So Carson Beck is chomping at the bit. Glad to see him get in the game today. Glad to see a lot of the younger guys get in. Actually say that they've played in the championship game. They've won they contributed. And then when they get their rings, it'll mean more for them. And now, of course, they will want to do that again next year. And you got to think Georgia's going to be ranked number one next year.
God, you would think
losing some
they weren't ranked number
big
one.
Talents, but
they weren't number one last year, right?
Yeah, they were ranked, I think, fifth, third,
it was
or
something.
fifth.
Yeah, I think it was third
Because
Ohio State was ahead of them. Alabama.
Yeah, Ohio State. It's Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, and Georgia kind of zipped up there. I remember them jumping Ohio State, and then Alabama had some close calls, and Georgia's moved number one. But they're going to be number one going forward. When you go 15-0 and 13-1 prior to that, 14-1, they have to respect you. And you saw Michael Williams just tear it up. Bear Alexander making plays. I mean, we can point to all the guys that they're going to lose. Darnell Washington, but you got an Oscar Delp over there that's going to step in. That offensive line, it's going to be very, very interesting what goes on there. And I think just because it's such an easy schedule, you have to just put Georgia at number one. You're the new Alabama. Congratulations.
Remy gave us a $1.99 dono. He says 2023 Pete. I like that.
I like it.
Hey Remy, you might want to go ahead and trademark that because that's pretty good. Yes. 2023 Pete. I like that. We got some people commenting in the comments talking about Corso. Corso put on the TCU hat. And
somebody told me that and I didn't believe it.
Yeah, he did. He
did he really?
Yeah. He had the UGA, big hat, and then he just put on a TCU like golf hat. And everybody's like, "Where's the horn frog?" And he's like, and he wasn't doing it; he was just doing like this thing. I don't know.
And he picked Ohio State last week too, so there you go.
He picked Ohio State, and he also picked Michigan last week as well. So he went 0 for 3 in his college football pick. Of course, he did.
Hey, shout out to Georgia representing the SEC.
Yeah,
tearing through it again. Congratulations on Big Ten on getting your butts kicked in the 2 games you played. Saw the Big Ten's 2-6 in college football playoff games. He's now 10-1.
Yeah, I think they're 14-3 total against non-SEC teams. So
Michigan gave up 51 to TCU.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah. Hey, I felt like there was a time where I felt bad for Max Duggan. There really was, because his offensive line gave up on him probably early in like the third quarter, maybe before halftime. And he just had to stand in there and take hit after hit. And
he was bleeding on the second drive.
Yeah. I mean, you felt bad for the kid because he's got a heck of a story, right? Duggan does. It's kind of similar to Stetson, but not. They both have very heroic stories to get back on the playing field for a Power 5 team. And God, you had to feel for that kid. Like his offensive line gave up. His right tackle just went to the locker room in like the second quarter. He was like, "Yeah, I'm done with this. I'm tired. I'm winded. I'm out." Like he just kind of ran off like on the whole team. There's a play where they were waiting on him to like come back around to his spot, and he was just taking his sweet ass time, just jogging from one side of the field. Like they're in the middle of a drive, if you want to call it that, from TCU. It was a TCU drive. And the kid just runs back and just was like stand there. And Herbstreit was like, "That's the right tackle." And he's just walking across the line. And it's like,
mean,
That kid he went into the locker room quick.
just think about a national championship game when you can call timeouts with 10 minutes left and have a Stetson walk off and the defensive guys walk off, just sending them off. I mean, and there's 10 minutes to go in the game. I mean,
yeah. Kirby
Well,
did that.
You beat
March
them
Madness
worse than you beat any other team, didn't you?
and I said
Vandy.
that Georgia, the first game of the year and the last game of the year were the most dominant performances Georgia had all year.
And it was
That's crazy.
Go ahead,
Go
Ronnie.
ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm saying it's crazy you say that because then I was thinking back to last year. You had that kind of remember the bookend pick sixes. That's what won you the Clemson game, and then when you put the Alabama game out of reach, and then you have 49 to what was the score that Oregon
49 to
3, and this thing, good God.
And it was the two games that they had to get up. Like they had the most hype about them. Yeah, Ohio State did, but the national championship and then the opening game against Oregon.
114 to 10 against Oregon and TCU.
Yeah, the bookends of your season. Just goes to show
they were ranked 3, and Oregon was ranked. One thing in like 5 or 8 or
they were top 10.
They were top 10.
Yeah. That's embarrassing. I'm going back looking at the scores. I couldn't remember what the Vanderbilt one is. 55 to nothing. This is 65 to 7. So you won by 58 points. I think they covered. So in your biggest game of the year, you had the largest margin of victory, and it could have been worse.
Oh, it could have been.
George on Pat makes a good point. He says, "I love we didn't take the foot off the gas like we've done in the past." When Kirby called that timeout right there before halftime, I was like, "Oh, this is a different Kirby. He wants the ball back," and he got the ball back, and he scored a touchdown. Normal Kirby would not call that timeout and would let the clock run out and go to halftime. But he said at the beginning of the game, he was like, Holly Rowe asked him. You didn't get to see this, Roddy, because you were at the game, but Holly Rowe asked him, like, they do the pregame right before the kick. They talked to the coaches. And you're like, what are your thoughts, Kirby? He just said, aggression. We are the hunters, not the hunted. And from then, it was, you knew what was going on.
Is there a better big game offensive coordinator than Todd Monken in the whole college football?
Not right now, I don't think.
And here's the thing: there are times during his play calling in the big game, I'm like, "What are you doing?" And then there are times where it's flawless. It's beyond compare. He had them spun around, guessing, not knowing what's coming across. 3 runs in a row, And at one point I looked up, it was like 195 passing yards, 178 rushing yards. I'm like, man, they just don't know what to do. They don't know which back's coming in. They don't know which wide receiver's going to, which tight end. Stetson runs in for a touchdown, practically untouched. And then his second touchdown, not only did he run in untouched around the left edge, but his 2 lead blockers didn't have to touch anybody. He
had 6 guys in front of him, and there was nobody over there.
Yeah, Monken's like, they're going to give us the entire boundary with nobody over there. Okay, we're going left, and they just ran right through it. It's embarrassing.
Hey, there's Jed T.
God.
May.
This is Jed, yes. Jed probably hasn't done anything all night, so he's finally showing up. Say hello, Jed.
You taking my spot, Jed? Oh, he can't hear because you got headphones in.
No, he can't.
Yeah. I'm going to bring Eddie in.
I haven't seen him. No, this is me.
Eddie, what's up, Eddie?
Hey, did they get score points?
Can you see the tears? I've been crying all night. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Are you crying because of the beeping noise behind Roddy that they're moving 50,000 soda trucks?
That's not fun. Roddy needs to mute that. That's not fun.
No, but how do you feel? How do you feel, Eddie? The godfather of the POS, if you will. That's what you've been called.
Well, I appreciate that. So
here it is right here. Blind squirrel. I didn't even say it. The godfather said it.
All right. I appreciate that. So I think this is the greatest 2-year college football run in history. Okay.
Ooh.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. with what Kirby's had to deal with the NIL, transfer portal, guys leaving after 3 years, nobody had to deal with that.
Good point.
This is the greatest 2-year run in college football history, period. It's ridiculous. And I have literally been crying since, I don't know, 10 o'clock. I don't know,
What, you get into the fiddler or something?
What?
Tequila? Did the fiddler do it? Did the tequila do it? What got you?
Just watching this team. I mean, this is a wet dream. Forgive my friend. This is ridiculous. This is what we've been waiting for, boys. And we watched it happen. And I was texting people during the game after the halftime. What was the score at halftime? 35-7. I don't even remember. What was the score at halftime?
It was 38-7.
38-7, yeah.
Okay, 38-7. I texted people. I said, I don't know how to act. What am I supposed to do right now? Do y'all know how to act like this after it's 38-7?
I mean, no, I don't know what you do. I don't know what.
Have you ever dealt with this? I mean, what do we do?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I told my kids they could stay up for the game and then send them to bed at halftime. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. What do you do, Roddy? Like, it's 38-7. Because I was texting some buddies and I was like,
I was drinking bourbon. I don't know about the rest of you.
What do you do if you're Sonny? What do you do if you're Sonny Dykes?
What Sonny Dykes? Yeah, go ahead.
At that point, you realize you're toast because it's not like you're going to go out and all of a sudden stop Georgia. You've got to be able to stop them all day. The one thing I wanted to put in my 3-2-1 column that I was worried about the most, and I took it straight from Coach Donnan because he mentioned it on our Wednesday podcast, or Tuesday podcast. And then I went and looked it up. Is Darius Davis, the punt returner? Georgia's kicking to him. I'm like, stop kicking to that guy, But whatever you do, don't punt towards him. Georgia punted once. And I was tracking the drives, and I'm like, Georgia's had the ball 5 times. 5 times, they scored 5 times. They just after. So at some point, you're like, well, they're not going to all of a sudden develop a defense. This is not what they can do. And again, I told you those defensive linemen were tiny compared to Georgia's offensive line. So you're not going to be able, and you're already down 4, 5, 6 scores. You can't go toe to toe with them. You're not going to outscore them against stops. So at this point, you just got to come out and just try to salvage something. I mean, you never want to say throw in the towel, but you threw in the towel midway through the second quarter. So just go try to salvage something, build for next year. Try not to be humiliated. This was a humiliating loss.
What did Georgia? They scored on their first 6 of 7 possessions this game, and they scored on their first 7 of 8 against Oregon, or something like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was
10 out
there
of
was
11.
1 3 and out.
Yeah, 10 out of 11 for Georgia. 12 total drives if you count that last one where they did the kneel down to finish the game. So they didn't score there. But if you count every drive that they had a scoring opportunity on, 10 out of 11. The only drive they didn't score on was right there out of the half where they went 3 and out. That's the only drive that they did anything besides. And so here's a crazy stat for you. So 10 out of 11. I'm not counting that last drive. 10 out of 11. 9 of those were touchdowns.
Jeez. All right, here's my question. Where does the Stetson Bennett statue go in Athens? Because I'm sorry. All love.
It's not going to happen.
What do you mean? No. Wait a minute. Hold on. Herschel Walker was great. Stetson Bennett is the GOAT, period. He's the GOAT.
I asked Trent about this earlier, Roddy.
He's the greatest Georgia Bulldog ever, Roddy. Ever.
Doesn't matter. He's not getting a statue.
Why?
Why not?
Because nobody else has got a statue but Coach Dooley.
I hope they give him the Staquavius.
He's got 2.
I hope they give him the Staquavius haircut if they do it.
It's coming.
Where's my Frank Sequich statue?
Like nobody was alive. Nobody was alive.
I'm just saying, Georgia has this thing against damn statues. It drives me crazy.
It's coming.
Like we should have that one.
This is
somebody said replace the arch, Eddie. Just replace the arch. Dog 85 says replace the arch. Put it right there. The graduates can walk under his arm where where the ball is. No, and if you're not a graduate, you have to go around.
There's a mic drop.
It's too small.
You walk under that.
Yeah, you can walk under the mic drop
Yep.
when you graduate. If you can't, you have to walk around them.
You're sterilized
I'll
if you're a freshman if you
I'll
walk.
leave y'all with this thought.
Is Stetson required to graduate before he does it?
He might need to. Hey, the people who were still bitching about Stetson, even this season, this is a complete vindication, not only of Stetson, but remember Kirby and Todd Monken sticking with him when everybody was screaming for them to pull him. He won you a title last year, and everyone said it was because of the defense. The defense won it for you. And if they ever needed the Georgia offense to outscore somebody, it couldn't be done. Stetson can't win a big game. He won the big game last year. Then he outscored Ohio State when it was needed, and he scored 6 TDs today. The guy, I was one. I'm saying, Stetson right off into the sunset. You got the greatest story of all time.
I said it last year.
You'd be a moron to come back. And
Yeah.
he comes back and wins 2. And it's what he said when we asked him why is he coming back. He goes, we can do it again. I'm like, okay. So we need to stop down the kid. But remember, this is he and Robert Beal, Kirby Smart and his guys, some of the Trey Scott and the guys that have been here since 2017 have played for 3 titles in 6 years. And they've won 2 of them. Robert Beal, congrats to him. A lot of people didn't give him a lot of, thought he had been recruited over, but he was here for you. He could have transferred many times. Stetson could have left. Stetson could have gone early. I'm really happy for those guys. 2 out of 3. I don't know who else can say that in their career, but that's phenomenal. I know you got a bunch of other guys on there. I got to get back to work. Bring on Rimmer and Brent and Dane, and I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, Roddy. Be safe. Safe travels home.
Yeah.
They said the statue can go in front of the 40-watt, Eddie.
I like that. That's good. That's good. That's a good place for it.
Let's get Trent. Do you want to stick around, or you? What do you want to do?
I don't matter.
All right,
I'm
stay
just
around.
hanging.
Let's bring in Rimmer. Rimmer, what's up, man?
Yeah, I want to hear Rimmer. That's good.
Rimmer, you there?
He looks like Jalen Carter pregame.
All right, Rimmer, we'll get
No,
Rimmer to call back. We'll get Rimmer to call back. Let's see Brent Rollins, PhD. I see you, Dave. Give me a second. Let me bring the doctor in. The doctor,
Dr. Rollins.
Let's see if he unmutes his mic. Oh, he does.
How's the voice? Is the voice okay?
It's better. It's better.
Good.
Having 3 hours of class today did not help.
Oh, goodness. Some of us work for a living, Brent.
Yeah, I had to give a test and had 3 hours of class today. So at least the day went by fast.
You have some followers here too. Walker Dog says Brent with the exclamation point. Nobody did Paul exclamation point or Trent exclamation point. The Godfather and Brent get it all. Okay, no worries.
Can I ask Brent a question before we get started?
Absolutely.
Brent, when you were watching this film, I know you got to be partial and you got to kind of say, okay, we look okay here. That TCU looks good here. Did you really watch this film and the film don't lie and say Georgia's going to dominate this team? Did you feel that all along?
For the most part, yes.
Yes.
Like the only thing I thought about was Stetson getting over aggressive early and throwing, into a coverage that he maybe wasn't used to seeing. But they did such a good job with formations and some of the they did a lot of different things tonight that they didn't do all year from a scheme, blocking, play action type standpoint. George on tap, give me some love, Paul. But I think that was the thing that they prepared for this defense. And you could tell they've been preparing probably for this defense since the playoff was announced because of the wrinkles that they had and just little wrinkles, like who's pulling versus not. Where are they lining up certain people, using overloads with Bowers where it looks like he's a receiver, but he's actually, it becomes an unbalanced line. Just little details like that. And once that happened, and then once 2 other things happened. Once TCU threw a screen, I'm like, okay, you idiots, you think you're going to go sideline to sideline on this defense? Sorry. Ohio State just showed you that the only way to beat them is to go vertical. And then when he didn't go for it in Georgia's territory, when it was 17-7, you have to understand what game you're in and understand that this offense is absolutely just steamrolling people right now. The instant he punted that ball, I'm like, all right, game over. Absolutely.
Brent, did you watch tape though? And I know coaches can't say this, Kirby can't say this, you can't say this. Did you watch this tape and say Georgia's going to dominate this game?
Yes.
Did you think that from the beginning?
Yeah,
you did.
I mean, the only thing I thought they might get one or two YOLO balls where it's just a.
Which they got
jump.
one. They got one.
They did.
Well, but that was more of a bust versus
it was a bust. Yeah,
versus the other guy being really good.
But that's how they got their touchdown was
Right.
off that.
Yeah.
Without that, then.
I rewatched the Michigan TCU game. I'm trying to figure out how the hell TCU won because they were not the better team. Jim Harbaugh killed them, and the 2 pick sixes killed them. But they were not better than Michigan. And I know Georgia would have they wouldn't beat Michigan as bad, but I think Georgia would have beat Michigan as well. But I think Michigan should win. Yeah. I think Ohio State and Alabama are the only 2 teams that can compete with Georgia right now, just because of a talent standpoint.
So Brent wasn't on here. I'll ask Brent right now. Is this the greatest 2-year run in college football history?
Yeah. And then I was in the background and I heard you say that Stetson's the GOAT. And build the statue. That's literally the first thing that I wrote in my postgame column was 1, build the statue, 2, make it with a fade. Put the fade in the statue.
You got to. Indy Clip watches the show a lot. He said Kirby just credited the scout team and how they played better than TCU.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow.
Damn.
I think from a recruiting perspective, they are better.
I mean, look at that scout team. I mean, not only do you have, you had some of the 5-stars or whatever coming in this class practicing a little bit, but you got Gunnar Stockton running the scout team quarterback. I mean, you're
Singletary at corner.
Yeah. I mean, you had Raylan Wilson running Steel Chambers again, like he was Ohio State. I mean, you probably have, just because the outside linebacker depth, you probably got Marvin Jones Jr. playing on the outside linebacker. I mean, look at your inside linebackers. You probably got Jalen Walker playing over there. I mean, you're loaded.
That's probably got some of those early enrollees playing too, doesn't it?
That's why I said, Raylan Wilson was Steel Chambers, Ohio State. Yeah, this team isn't going anywhere anytime soon, guys. Total yards, 589 for Georgia, 188 for TCU.
And Georgia could have had 700 if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they stopped playing.
They wanted.
Yeah. They had 380 or something at halftime. So they could have had something.
They stopped playing with what, like 10 minutes left in the fourth, Brent? That's when they took Stetson out, right? 12 minutes, something like that.
10 minutes.
I mean, Carson threw a couple passes.
I will say I think that was very telling that they were still letting him throw it around. But 2, Paul, you mentioned the yards. The last 3 games, 8.1 yards per play.
Unbelievable.
In the last 3 games. Against 3, 4, and whatever LSU was, 15, 16, something like that.
We were deep in the second quarter, and Georgia was averaging 9.8 or 9.9 yards per play. And it's just remarkable.
We were one busted coverage away from being a shutout, too. I think that's a shutout if we don't let that big play happen.
I think so, too. But I don't know if – does Kirby still put up 65 if TCU has 0?
Yes.
Tonight,
that was the easiest 65 Georgia could possibly ever put up.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering. I think Eddie's right.
He wanted to send. He seemed very message sending tonight. Even by the way, and I mean I know he thinks it, but also saying it. Like, did you hear Pollock at halftime saying how Georgia's like the standard in college football now? And Saban was literally sitting right beside him, like trying not to have an aneurysm.
I'm sure
there's conversations there where it's like, all right, we're just laying the smackdown and we're going to tell people about it.
As folks don't know, you're good friends with David Pollock. Have you exchanged any words with him after that?
No, I haven't yet to. He's busy. Who knows?
Well, I would love to hear what Saban said to him after that. After
it went off air.
Maybe we can just get that in the group chat. I don't know. But I would love to hear that. Brent, I'll let you go, man. I got some other UGA sports guys waiting to get in.
Hey, wait,
Awesome.
before Brent goes, Brent,
Go
thanks
ahead.
again for so much of what you do. It is so awesome what you bring to the table, breaking down Georgia, and thank you so much.
It's been a fun year. Now it's time for some rest.
Yeah. Rest that voice, Brent.
fun.
We appreciate you. All
Thanks,
right, man. Oh, I didn't mean to cut him off like that, but
No,
It's
he's
time for,
freaking-
it's time for the 2000.
Brent is the best. The doc is the best.
yeah, he's
awesome.
good, man. He's
Oh,
But
good.
it's time for the 2023 Pete.
Yeah. That is, I'm telling you, whoever put that in the chat, I can't find it now. 2023, Pete, you need to go ahead and trademark that. But no
Hashtag
doctor,
it.
there's no doctor out there in the world that is good without a great nurse. And that nurse is Dane Young, folks. Dane Young, you need somebody to hand you your scalpel if you're a doctor. And that man is Dane Young. He puts the ball up in the air for Brent, and Brent knocks it out of the park. Dane Young, thank you for coming on to the show. 65-7. How was Coach Donnan tonight?
Happy. I mean, that was look, I get the shirt.
Yeah,
There
you got it.
I was
You
about
got
to
it.
do it.
You got a Dane.
I got a Dane. And it's spelled correctly, which makes me happy.
It was the same guy.
I don't know that Georgia could play that game against TCU 100 times and it get any better than that, or maybe even match that. Like, it was perfection. And there were issues. I mean, you had the false start at the beginning. You had another little penalty. Like, it could have been way, way worse.
Twice.
Yeah. And by the way, I think the tagline, someone already tweeted it to me and it's already lost in my timeline. Apparently it's going to be a thing back to back to Beck.
Oh, I
Back
like
to
that.
back to
That's
back.
good.
Oh, there's another one. There's another one. Yeah.
Now, that's assuming he wins the job. I don't think that's a for sure thing.
Okay. Here you go. Here we go, folks. I was talking to a buddy about this. We all can agree that one of the three quarterbacks is probably going to transfer. I would imagine it's probably the guy that's stuck in between the junior and the freshman. I'm not going to name names. You can take what you want, right? But let's say he leaves in the next week or so, and somehow, miraculously, Gunnar Stockton has the spring of his life, and he takes over that number one spot from Carson Beck. Well, Carson Beck's definitely not staying. So now you have one scholarship quarterback on your roster. And what if Gunnar Stockton goes down? You have another walk-on, Jackson Muschamp, to take over and lead you down the walk-on.
Number one, I can tell you for sure
I don't think two are leaving.
Kirby Smart is not stupid enough to name Gunnar Stockton as quarterback and starting quarterback in the spring. He knows.
He might not name him, but reps show reps. I'm just saying.
I mean, if you're going down that rabbit hole, I could be like, well, emergency quarterback Malachi Starks. He did it in high school.
Yeah. I mean,
he balled out.
I'm just saying.
No, I mean, there is another. Never mind. I'm not going there.
Hey,
no,
can we just enjoy what happened tonight instead of worrying about next year?
Hey, this is
There's another Bennett.
Coach Donnan's fun to sit beside because he's always thinking about the next play. And so Stetson Bennett gets, pulled from the game. He gets his moment or whatever. Georgia scores after that because Branson Robinson's like, I'm having my moment to shine.
Yeah.
And Donnan says, or are they going to send Stetson back out to hold it? And we learned who the holder is behind Stetson. And it's Brett Thorson.
Is it Thorson?
Yeah.
I'm just going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just get crazy. We got 500 people watching. Let's just go 5-box this thing and bring
five
in
wide.
Five wide here.
Like they do at Dega.
Raugsy Vid says this program is unreal. I know he's talking about Georgia, but you should be talking about the POS. This program is also unreal. Soak it in, gentlemen. He says, you're exactly right. This program is great. Speaking of this program, I'll tell you what, this program, Blaine Gilmer, 65-7. You were calling on Twitter for Stetson, pretty much the statue to be built, right? Are you on board with pouring the concrete or what?
It's not going to take a lot of material, okay? Because if they make it life size, because it's not going to be. He's not the biggest in the world, but he deserves a statue because he's the greatest. In my opinion, he's the greatest Georgia quarterback of all time, and he's going to be known, and people are going to say it's blasphemy because of Herschel. He's going to be the most famous Georgia Bulldog of all time because of the age that we live in, the social media attention, how his story's been told, and the way that how how much exposure he's gotten in back-to-back national championships, and it's undeniable now. So, I mean, I think he's just he's a legend, and that's how he'll be known going forward.
But I don't think that's blasphemy. He is the greatest Georgia Bulldog. He's the greatest Georgia Bulldog of all time.
He could really go down.
Did Herschel win too?
He could really go down as the greatest quarterback in SEC. I mean,
shit.
Absolutely.
I mean technically Tebow won too. I guess he wasn't the starter for the first one.
Did Tebow win 2 playoff games? Did Tebow win all those MVPs? No.
Even though he only won one, I would just say Joe Burrow is I don't know how you can not make that guy. The season that he had by itself is better than anything I think you could put out.
Freaking
in the NFL.
Freaking Barstool Sports was like, is Georgia in 2022 like LSU in 20? And I'm like, hell no. Do you know what Joe Burrow and those receivers would have done against Georgia's secondary? Like, yeah, it'd have been a game. Like, Georgia wouldn't get blown out or anything. But like that LSU offense was like the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Let me ask you this: if the 12 or 13 passes that Stetson Bennett had that completed that Georgia was tackled within the 5-yard line, if he had that on his stat line, we might be talking about a Heisman.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing: if they waited to do the Heisman Trophy voting after the playoffs, Stetson would have won the Heisman Trophy based on that last drive against Ohio State. That's the Heisman moment right there. He would have won the Heisman Trophy in my opinion.
Would have finished fourth. Caleb would have finished 4th.
Yeah,
after what we just watched.
Well, I think Max might have finished 4th after what we just watched. But
yeah.
Hey, another coming in from coming off the press from Indie Clip, and I trust him. I'm sure he's watching Kirby's press conference right now. He said, "OMG, Kirby just said Bullard caught that interception with a separated shoulder." Damn,
Bullard's as tough as nails, man.
Yeah, he's a beast.
But Bullard would not have, if that game would have been close, Bullard would not have came out of that game.
No, hell no. He wouldn't have pulled himself out. You saw he still had his pads on when he went up there to get his defensive trophy. He saw his pads on.
Each of the national championships, there's been like a defensive back that kind of, I don't know, emerged or saved the day. And like Bullard's obviously that with his play against Harrison and the 2 picks in the first half here. But like David Daniel Sispana, if he doesn't make a tackle on CJ Stroud, then Georgia's not playing in this game tonight.
So true. So true.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Javon Bullard is, everybody had him coming out of when he was getting recruited. They're like, oh, well, he's going to play corner because that's what he played at Baldwin. But I went back and looked at a lot of his tape at Baldwin, and when they would face in high school, when they would face a triple option team, right, or a wing T team, they would put him at safety. And you would literally see him coming from 12 yards deep and making tackles for a loss in the backfield from safety and just flying downhill. And it was at that point that I literally wrote, I tweeted it out last week. I was like, after the hit versus Harrison, I was like, he is not adverse to contact. And that is what Kirby Smart loves about him. I mean, he's not the most gifted in the world, but he will absolutely just knock your head off in a legal way, which is what he did against Harrison. And he's a stud, and good for him in terms of people criticizing his pass coverage, and he has 2 picks tonight, so that's a good kind of rounding out of the season for him.
Out of the 5 defensive backs that started, was he the best defensive back for Georgia all season? I mean, I think he was. He was the most consistent.
Ooh, I don't know. I think Kamari Lassiter is.
I love Lassiter early in the year. Yeah.
I mean, Chris Smith was probably the most consistent.
I was going to say Christopher Smith.
Right? I think Kamari Lassiter is going to end up being the best DB out of all those guys. Like, I'm talking about like in the future, like in the league. Like Kamari Lassiter's a stud.
I don't know
about Bullard that I think a lot of Georgia fans will appreciate, because it's not the case with everyone on this team. And we all see it when we get to know them a little bit better. But I spoke with Bullard before the season, and this is a guy from Milledgeville. He grew up loving Georgia. It means a ton to him to be able to wear that helmet and that jersey. And look, Georgia's at a status now as a program where they end up with players that have never even watched college football, that they're NFL fans, or like they just focus on high school Friday nights and then they don't really care about college. Is like there are plenty of Georgia fans on that team, but there are plenty that aren't, and he is one of the like big time Georgia fans that this means a lot to him and his community. And so I'm really happy for that on that stage, because I know that like Milledgeville is going nuts right now.
I'd say him and Stetson are the two biggest fans on the Georgia team, and they've won MVP in both games.
Yeah. Another guy, Walker Dawg wants to talk about, guys, is talking about Ladd McConkey comes into the game after last week's performance where he caught that 2-point, really helped out, but he was hurt. Tonight, 5 receptions, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the young fella. Could have been over 100 if that one pass that Stetson missed just a little bit outside there. It could have been over 100 yards for Ladd, but he ends up with 88 and 2 touchdowns. Another guy that wasn't highly recruited. We looked at it, Trent. I remember signing day. I was like,
it's Todd Monken's guy, man.
Yeah, I was like, who is this guy? And you were like, this is Todd's guy. And I was like, all right, well, we'll see. And sure enough, this guy shows up on the big stage again, 2 touchdown catches. Anybody can chime in on that.
You want to hear a conspiracy theory?
He looks like an 8th grader in uniform.
No, he does.
His helmet is like too big for his face. He's too small, and the guy just balls out. He's incredible.
Here's your conspiracy theory. I have a feeling that Bill Belichick absolutely loves both Ladd McConkey and Stetson Bennett, and that's the reason he got Robert Kraft to send the Patriot plane to fly the Red Coat Band all the way out to Los Angeles, because he's trying to butter him up and go ahead and get ready for the pre-draft meeting with Stetson this year. They'll draft Stetson about the 5th, 6th round. He'll take Mac Jones's job, tick more Alabama fans off, and then Ladd McConkey the next year will be, Wes Welker version, 4.0. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Stetson in the helmet looks like Darnell wearing the big hat. I mean,
yeah,
it's not as bad as JJ McCarthy.
Is Stetson going to be drafted now, or is he a walk?
Yes.
No, I think he's drafted.
You think
he's drafted?
So?
I think he's drafted. I thought like at the beginning of the season he might have been drafted late round, but I think he might be drafted more in the 4th, 5th round pick.
The only thing I'll say is like his medical needs to come back good, because he played with an injured shoulder for much of the season, so he'll get scrutinized some for medical stuff. If he comes through that clean, then yeah, he's going to get drafted.
Are you talking about Stetson Bennett being hurt?
Yeah, he played hurt
on his arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's crazy. I said that on the show, and I got lambasted for that.
Not by me, Paul. I got your back, man.
I'm just saying. Somebody called me out on that. $5 dono from the man right cheer says LSU is the only BCS champions in 2003. So please quit giving USC credit as back-to-back champions. They didn't even qualify to play in the title game. AP got mad. I don't remember that. Maybe some of you guys do, but
in terms of like legacy, too, like we're talking about like Stetson versus Herschel and all that, and like, man, half the people watching today weren't alive when Herschel did his thing for Georgia either. So like, there's a lot of like recency bias with what we saw. I wasn't alive when Herschel did his thing, so I can't tell you what that was like. I know what I've been told forever, and he didn't win 2 of them.
Yeah, but he's literally, the only thing about it is Herschel's a freak in nature, like literally, just in terms of.
Well, Herschel was a 2020 back playing in 1980.
I was alive, and I saw it, boys. And Stetson's the GOAT. Okay.
Oh, there you go. You heard it from the Godfather.
I was here.
Hey, well, that's better. That's better coming from somebody that saw both play. Other than film, because I just feel like it. Sometimes you can get toasted a little bit that way if you say otherwise, but man, it's no doubt in terms of impact. Bennett's done more than any other Georgia Bulldog.
Absolutely.
I mean, we already have somebody in the chat, guys, that is sitting at the LAX airport. Sure feels good to ride home with the natty. The Middle Georgia UGA Dog Pound. You're a crazy son of a gun to be flying back home on that red eye. That's
Spirit,
a 4-hour flight. Oh boy, you got a 3-hour time zone. So even if you got on the plane right now, Dog Pound, you're getting home at 7:30. That's tough, man. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. Congrats.
So, if Stetson's the GOAT, can we just like take a step back and realize?
hold up, Dave. 1 second. Greg Clawin says Eddie saw Moses play. So
I'm not that old. I'm 52. I mean, I'm not 922.
All right, now it's getting really outlandish. Uncle Sam says the numbers 3, 4, 3, N 2, 3. All right, guys, guys, we got to find some common ground here. I like what is it? 2023, Pete. I like that. 3, 4, 3, N 23. I don't know. Maybe going too far there.
Got a super chat there from Gabe.
Yeah, Gabe says OSU fan, but cheering for Georgia. Big 12 softer than our trash defense. They gave up 18 points to blow it. Laugh out loud. Go Dogs, though. Congrats. Hey, Gabe, we appreciate that super chat, man. Yeah, that Big 12 is it's a little soft. It's a little soft.
But I guess we're all saying consensus Stetson Bennett is the greatest player to play for Georgia. And I'm not arguing that fact. I think it's there. But now, look, you can argue language on it. There are more talented players that have played for Georgia.
Yeah,
he's definitely the most decorated and accomplished.
Okay.
But look, in my eyes, Champ Bailey is the most talented player to ever play for Georgia. Look at all the stuff he did for that team. He just didn't have the cast around him. All that said, the fact that conversation's happening, and 13 months ago, we all have Twitter. We're on the Dawg vent. It was like 50-50 among the fan base if Stetson Bennett should start the Orange Bowl last year.
Yep.
For that to happen.
Yeah, you're right.
It shows you the power of being awesome in the right moments. And maybe that's the legacy that he has.
That's what I was saying in terms of social media and TV exposure and all that brings in a little bit of bias to this as well. To it too. And let's just cut through it, and let's also not I don't want to get political on here, but let's also not say that Herschel hadn't alienated himself from half the people out there, with his run. So for office. So that kind of hurt him a little bit in that too. But you can't deny he's a freak athlete and unbelievable guy.
What's different about Stetson is that he stepped up in the biggest moments in the world. I mean, he sucked for half the game against Ohio State. And then in the fourth quarter, when it mattered, he took the team on his shoulders and he led them to a victory.
Oh, yeah.
That's what Stetson does.
Who's the basketball announcer? Is it Bill Raftery that says onions when somebody hits a big three over there?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, Herschel, you can. I mean, I don't care about all that political bull crap.
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with this. Okay.
No, I'm saying that's how.
I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but Herschel was an incredible athlete, but he didn't take the team on his back and lead them back-to-back national champions. He didn't do that. He won a Heisman. He won a national championship. Stetson did it twice, and he did it in the moments where it was the hardest to do. And and like you said, Dane, nobody backed this kid. Everybody was against him because they were like, "Oh, this kid's not any good. He can't do this." And he did it.
One of the greatest parts of his story to me is that before that same Orange Bowl, where it was 50-50 among the fan base at that point, which was pretty crazy in retrospect, but that's just what it was at the time. I thought the biggest turning point in his story to me, not his performance and not everything, when Todd Monken in front of a microphone just said, "I had it wrong. We told him he should leave," and he just didn't. And he kept coming back and he kept coming back. And the fact that Monken was so, I guess, upfront about that, when coaches tend to not want to be. Most coaches are egomaniacs. One, I gained a lot of respect for Todd Monken for just being honest. Man, I didn't believe in this kid.
They said they tried to bury him, right?
Yeah, and then credit for Stetson. Man, if you go back to before that Arkansas game, Stetson Bennett was taking fourth string snaps.
Yep.
He was barely on that team.
Yeah. We got a $2 dono from Luke S. Says, when am I going to hear you guys on 929 FM? I don't know. I've done some radio spots for him, but I don't know if we'll ever get on there. Let's see. This just in, guys. Stetson Bennett's mom posts on the Dawg vent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she posted on the Dawg vent. Should I read it or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. I think you should screen share it. All right, just read it.
I'm not that talented, Dane. All right, so Denise Bennett. It's her first post on the Dawg vent, guys. She says, Dawg vent, my first post. Thank you, Dawg vent, for some much needed entertainment these past 6 years. Has been fun to read. Well, mostly fun. Some insiders are spot on. Some insiders are horribly wrong. All are entertaining. As a Dog fan, alum, and a player mom, I couldn't love the Dogs more than if I played myself. Here's to a three-peat. Go Dogs. Oh, to @Namick. Bless your heart, Denise Bennett. So I don't know what Namick said. I guess he's a poster on the board.
That's one of the people that didn't think Stetson should start for a long time.
I figured that's what it was. So yes, her first post on the board. So we had the player's mom on UGAsports.com posting. That's pretty cool. Georgia on Tap. Ratty is on 92.9 with Randy Mack all the time. So we're on there. I think he was talking more or less like having a show. Maybe we should hit up old 92.9 and see if they need us.
What a mic drop from Denise Bennett, man.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty sick. That is pretty sick.
Oh, and also shout out to the dog vent. Like this close after that, and she's like, "Let's go check out the dog vent." That kind of makes me feel like I'm working for the right place.
Well, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to tell Eddie, and I agree with you, man. In terms of I feel the same. I'm just saying the argument out there that goes for Herschel is that I mean, look at the percentage of the offense that he had to like. It was Herschel. Like they were running the ball, like, and he put his body through all kinds of heck to go forward. So I think there's still an argument out there, but I agree with you that there's no denying that Stetson Bennett is an all-time great dog and a legend and all that kind of stuff. But let's not just totally throw the legacy of old Herschel away over there.
I didn't mean it that way at all. I think Stetson has supplanted Herschel is the greatest of all time for Georgia. He has supplanted him.
Yeah, well, maybe so. I think it's right there.
Either way, the fact that we're even talking about somebody supplanting Herschel Walker as the best dog of all time just goes to show you what Stetson Bennett meant for this program. I think we could go back and forth on this. Everybody could go back and forth on Herschel this or Stetson this. Either way, though, your Dogs have 3 national championships because of those two guys. Mm-hmm. And Stetson Bennett has really helped this program, elevate to a whole nother level that now it's plug and play. Carson Beck comes in next year. You've got the same guys coming back.
Or how about another angle? Because of what he did as a player and as a coach, is Kirby Smart the greatest Georgia Bulldog of all time?
Ooh.
I did think it was interesting that Mark Richt got in College Football Hall of Fame today. So you're going to have 3 straight Georgia coaches, College Football Hall of Famers.
Because Kirby was an all-SEC player, and he ends up leading Georgia to its first national title in 41 years and going back-to-back now and building a deal where they're going to be favorites for a three-peat, Vegas favorites going into next year. I mean, that's impressive as well. So.
Well, I think there's a separation, though, between coaches and players. I mean, Kirby's the greatest of all time right now. I'm sorry. He's beyond what Coach Vince Dooley did. We love Coach Vince Dooley, but he's beyond him already. And he's only got more to come. And I think the players and the coaches are 2 different things, right? It's 2 different arguments.
Yeah, and the only reason I say he belongs in it all is because, he was a player at Georgia as well. So that kind of you put the whole ball of wax together, and he's certainly got an argument on all kinds of stuff too.
My favorite stat at the moment is that in the last 2 seasons, Georgia has more national championships than losses.
Wow.
That's incredible. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, that is nuts. And I'll leave you with this. I'm gonna run here soon, but I will leave you with this. Dylan Raiola, little recruiting note, was in the stadium seeing
Talk to us.
Sister goes to TCU, right? That was one reason he was there.
That was not the reason he was there.
I said one reason. I said one.
That wasn't even a reason he was there. He was just a byproduct of the events. She just happened to be birthed by his parents as well. But Dylan Raiola was there, and I can just tell you that I think that there's some movement going on. I'll leave you with this, as the great George Costanza said, it moved. Okay, all right, I'm out. I'll see y'all later.
See you, bro.
In terms of like Kirby's place, though, and one like Nick Saban's the greatest college football coach ever, but like, Kirby has a path to compete with that, which is just insane to think. But like the other piece of it is you start going to like greatest coaches of all time, and like Kirby's beginning to knock on the door of like top 20, top 10. I mean, he's in terms of just national titles, you're already getting into Nick Saban. Recently, you're looking at like Dabo Swinney, Pete Carroll, Urban Meyer territory, and that's insane.
Well, I mean, he's not there yet, but what's amazing to me is the way Kirby's done this, dealing with the NIL, the transfer portal, all that stuff. I mean, that's a whole new ball of wax that he's having to deal with, and he's done it. And Saban hasn't done it in this new era, right?
Well, and I think the greatest thing that Kirby has done is kind of just have a roster ready for when things happen.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of been, if Alabama's had a downfall, which it's really not, they're still awesome. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like they've struggled a couple times in replacing coordinators. And I mean, look, Dan Lanning gets the Oregon job. Cool. Muschamp's already been at Georgia for 2 years. Okay. Or whatever it had been. Like he was ready. And Todd Monken's going to get calls. And probably one day he's going to leave. Oh, Mike Bobo right there, ready to go. He's been with the team. Like the continuity with that. And those are all Georgia guys too. That's a piece of it I think some of these other teams don't have. And people can say that doesn't matter, but Kirby Smart mentioned it after the game today of like why he called timeouts to get curtain calls for his, like that's totally un-Kirby like. And he said, look at what they've done for the university that I love too.
When was the last time a coach did a curtain call in football besides NFL? In college football, I can't like think of one off the top of my head.
I would assume Clemson did something with its blowout in the CFP, right?
Probably, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Somebody said,
no, we don't want Bobo.
All right, boys. I'm gonna check out. I actually have to go to work tomorrow. I hate it, but I do. And we won 65-7, and we just won back to back. I mean, my God, are you kidding me? My eyes are still wet. I can't believe it.
Eddie, the godfather of the show. We appreciate you so much, my friend.
Let me show some love to you real fast, because Eddie, you always show love to us, and it's all like I hope it never feels one-sided, because like you give so much time and you're so invested in the stuff that we do. And I mean, I don't know how you have time to work between hanging out with us and hanging out with Logan Booker and then hanging out with Bill Shanks. Like you're a busy dude, and your voice is better at any of this than any of us. So you just bring a lot to this, and your energy and your graciousness and just investment in what we do makes our lives fun. So you represent a lot of people that put a lot of time into this. So thanks, man.
Well, thank you, Dane. I really appreciate that. And Paul, I still owe you a dinner. I'll get half a point.
We'll get it.
We'll get half a point. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Happy to pay.
Definitely get it. All right. See you, Eddie. Oh, Dane. See you, Senior Mattingly from Brian Squirrel Sports. Man, how this was funny when Stetson at the end of it, Dane said, he said, man, Monken should just retire after that play call.
I think Monken made that joke to him.
Yeah. And then the camera goes right to Kirby Smart, and he's like talking to Mary Beth. And I'm just like, man, Kirby, somebody in the press conference is going to ask that question. Like, is Todd Monken coming back? We heard Stetson Bennett at the end of the game. So I thought that was kind of funny that was brought up. We haven't even gotten to the stats really, Dane. I want to kind of dig into these real quick before we get off of here. And guys, you're more than welcome to call in. We've got a little bit of time left. The link is in the description. All you do is you click that link, and then it brings you into our waiting room, and then we bring you into the show. Super easy. So I'd love for maybe a couple more people to call in. We got 500 people watching us right now. Somebody wants to call in and talk some dogs with us. 65-7, 589 total yards to 188 for TCU. Just absolute crazy domination of a game. I mean, red zone 6 of 6 for Georgia. Time of possession, 37 minutes. No fumbles, no interceptions. You score on every one of your drives except one. I mean, yeah, and here's the narrative. I think this is the narrative. moving forward, Dane, that the national media is going to go with is, well, TCU probably should have never been in the national championship game to begin with. Georgia can't help that. They beat the teams that are on their schedule. TCU made it to the national championship game. They beat Michigan. So you can't, but that's going to be the narrative, right? Well, TCU just wasn't ready for this game. You know,
I mean, the three most talented teams in the country are Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama. And I don't think there's any disputing that from anyone that follows us with any objectivity.
Sure.
You can choose the order that you want to. Fine. I'm not even going to tell you that Georgia would beat them, more than 70% of the time or anything. Like, I think you saw how close Ohio State is to Georgia in terms of talent. And when you have a quarterback like that, but guess what? Alabama didn't take care of business in the regular season to give itself a chance to play Georgia. And Ohio State ran the ball kind of stupidly at the end of the game and didn't give itself something shy, less than a 50-yard field goal. And Michigan threw 2 pick sixes against TCU. Like, I don't think that game could have gone any worse for TCU. And that's maybe easy to say at this point, but that's in part because Georgia went out there and just kicked ass.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's not 65-7.
And that was like letting off the gas. That was like Branson Robinson being like, I'm going to get mine.
Yeah. I mean, they could have put up 72. Could have been 72-7. 79-7 is not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, they could have easily dropped 80 points tonight.
I did enjoy the game day picks are funny because I've had this running joke on Twitter for like 6 months now of Desmond Howard's preseason picks of picking
and then he picks TCU
in the title game, and then he picked TCU, and then he has to come back at halftime and give comments about Georgia, what it's doing to TCU. Like, it was just chef's kiss of like Desmond Howard just came ready to give me Twitter ammunition, which is not the whole goal of everything, but he's a fun punching bag because like he seems like a nice guy, but he doesn't seem like he knows what he's talking about when it comes to the sport. And,
Blind Squirrel Sports says that was a historically bad loss for TCU. What else can you say?
I mean, yeah, but it's also historically a great win for Georgia.
It is.
And so it kind of depends on how you want to look at it. Like, that stunk for TCU, and if they played again in 2 weeks, it may not be to that same degree, but they don't.
We've got a new caller here, Dane. Let's see if we can bring him on. Larkin Fowler, how's it going?
Paul, Dane, how are you guys?
Hi, Larkin.
Good, man. Where are you calling us from?
I'm New York City.
New York City.
Yeah.
But via Moultrie, Georgia.
Okay. So how are you feeling after this victory?
Well, I'll tell you guys, I'm old enough to remember 1980. And I grew up in Moultrie. I grew up watching Coach Goff play in Moultrie. His dad ran the rec department. Knew his dad used to do, T-ball in the summers and all that stuff. And Ray's younger brother, Bucky, played T-ball and baseball with him. So, I was a long-time Ray Goff lover. And, last year was so special, I cried. And this year, it's just cried again. My son's a senior at Georgia this year.
Awesome.
My oldest is, and it's just special.
Yeah, I mean, so I went to Georgia. Dane did as well. I graduated 2013. Dan, you were what, 2011?
2011, but I will say that both years that I've been in graduate school, currently Georgia has won national championships, and I hope that doesn't have fans asking me to stay in grad school forever, because that wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, when I was in school, the biggest game was Georgia LSU when Mettenberger came back. That was like
2013
hard game, right? But your son Larkin has now got to witness 2 national championships while he's been in college. That is. Nobody in the history of UGA can say what your son can say, that he's been there for 2 national championships.
Well, Paul, it was funny because so he's a Chi-Phi, and
nice.
he this is his 5th year. He decided that because he switched majors 17 times, that he decided to stay for a 5th year, which is look, it worked out. But he said to me, I was talking to him today before the game, and he's like, oh, Dad, I feel good about the game. And I was like, God, after that Ohio State game, I just was like, who knows, bud? And he said, they went to the SAE house last year. SAE had this huge screen set up and everyone's watching the game. He was sending me videos and he's like, I barely remember the game. So this year he was like, I'm going to, watch the game. Once we win, then I'm going to go to downtown Athens and have fun. So I think, he probably enjoyed it a lot more this year than last year.
Yeah, well,
he actually watched the game.
Lojo is saying he drank his way to a 5th year like I did. I'm right there with him. Yeah, I stayed. I graduated in December so I could get another football season. So that's how it worked
Let
out.
me ask you a question, because being from Moultrie, my first job out of college was at WAOB in Albany. So I spent a lot of time down in that direction, and Norman Park and Tifton. And like, it's just a different part of the state and different part of the world. There's a different kind of community in those little communities, or not even towns, some of them. Does it mean anything different to you that it's a guy from Bainbridge at the center of all this leading the way?
Well, yeah, it absolutely does, because I remember going and watching. So my dad was an attorney, and sadly passed away in 2006. But I remember going and watching one of Kirby's high school games. I don't remember if it was state playoffs or something. Because I was living in Atlanta and working after I got out of college. I didn't go to Georgia. I went to Washington and Lee, but I came back to Atlanta after college and was working and still, using my dad's season tickets whenever he wouldn't go, and going up to Athens and, having fun and watching the games. And, I loved Ray. He's a great guy. The team's terrible other than the 92 team, that had Andre Hastings and Garrison Hurst. But after that, I mean, it was a, pardon my French, a fucking shit show, as we all know. I just think that, when someone like, I just feel good. I mean, I felt so bad that Ray wasn't successful, because he is Mr. Buck was like the nicest man ever. Ray, he was like a childhood hero. I mean, Moultrie High School. I mean, I loved him, and it was pretty sad that, that he was not as successful as we would have all liked him to be. And so, being a Southwest Georgia kid, now, sort of a New Yorker, I've been here since 95, but, you can take the boy from the South, but you can't take the South from the boy. It just fills me with pride that another Southwest Georgia kid has, taken this program to where where it is. I mean, it just feels amazing. It's like, I wish my dad were alive to see it. That's probably the only thing that I regret, is that my dad, because he was at the Sugar Bowl in '80 with my stepmom, watching the damn game, and I was stuck in Moultrie watching it on TV with my mom. And I wish he could have been here to see it, but I know he's watching from above, and he's probably just as proud of Kirby as all the Southwest Georgia folks are.
A couple of those Rick teams, if they would have had the playoff, they would have been in the running. I mean, who knows if they win it, but
yeah.
Is it bad I've lived in Georgia my whole life and I've never been to Southwest Georgia? I've never been to Moultrie or Albany or anything like that.
Or Thomasville's great. Go down. Go.
Paul from East Dublin, dude. Like, you learn all the little communities.
See, so I thought Dublin was in the mountains. No.
No. If you took Atlanta and Savannah and threw a dart in the middle, you're probably where I grew up.
Yeah. I've never been there.
Well, you think about the crazy thing in 2000, was it 1 or 2? Yeah, 2002, when Terrence Edwards drops the pass against Florida and we lose. And I think, that year, that team that Coach Rick had with David Pollock and David Green and all those guys was a great team. And I just think that, poor Terrence Edwards, I mean, if he could, he probably thinks about that pass more than he should, because he was, one hell of a player. And,
all he does is train like all the future receivers.
All he does is train the wide receivers and the T-Mac or T-Ed, whatever the wide receiver academy.
Have you ever watched a game up at American Whiskey in New York, the Georgia bar up there?
I have been once. So, as I'm older now, I generally like to watch the games from my house, and when they win, then I go out to the bar. Tonight, I actually got to work tomorrow, so get up early. So I know,
which is
Next time
terrible.
you're there, ask for Robbie. He's a member of the Dawg vent and just a great dude.
Yeah, no, it hasn't. And I went to Michigan for graduate school, so I usually I do. There's a whole Michigan dads group from my daughter's soccer team, and I've done more Michigan bar nights than Georgia bar nights because they're just not, they're not that many Georgia guys up here.
So you really enjoyed that Peach Bowl.
Yes, I did. I don't know if I was happier that Georgia won or Ohio State lost, but it was that Putz Ryan Day with his like spray on tan. I was quite happy. It was I was bummed Michigan lost, and last year was definitely interesting when watching those two teams play, and it was like graduate school alma mater team that I cry over when they lose. Georgia's in my heart, always will be. And it's too bad. I think it'd have been great if we had a Georgia Michigan game, because I think it would have been a great game. I mean, look, this was listen, as you guys know, like watching that Ohio State game, and Paul, I was watching the game and I was watching along with you and Coach Donnan. And
Dane. You were watching with Dane.
Oh, it was Dane. Sorry. Yeah, Dane. Sorry. Apologize. And so, we're kind of watching. And then when Coach Donovan's like, whoa, he missed, like we're going. I mean, it was like.
Well, his quote was, he missed the dog shit out of it.
Yeah, he missed the dog shit out of it. It was like.
Well, I've got some other stuff you guys need to hear too.
Yeah. But that was crazy. That was so much fun. So, look, I watched the show. I usually listen to it. I watch it when I can. I always listen to it on the podcast when I'm trying to get some exercise up here. And I think you guys do a great job. And thanks for letting me on the show. I've long time listener, first time caller. So
yeah,
we appreciate back.
Yeah, we appreciate you calling in, Larkin, and we hope you have a good rest of your night. And
Happy New Year, guys. And
you as well.
Let's go for 3 and 23.
There you go.
All right. Good night, guys. Have a great one.
Thanks,
Larkin. What you got, Roddy?
I want to
get some stuff.
I want to play the Kirby Smart audio I just uploaded to YouTube.
Well, bring it on.
It's filthy, but see if it'll play. If not, I may have to get Dane to do this.
Your ass is prepared for this shit for 365 days. I think about this fucking red locker room. Think about getting all the shit you went through this week to get ready for this game. Now is when you pay the fucking price. You go out there with energy, enthusiasm. Ain't nobody supposed to be cautious. Ain't nobody supposed to be nervous about shit. Go out here and fuck their ass up. Don't think about scoreboard. Don't think about shit. You think about knocking the shit out of them. Did you hear what Fox said on Monday? When I sat in that fucking meeting, I wanted to go fucking play right then. Do your shit up out here. Fuck your shit up. Goddamn pride and joy tells me you fuck these guys up. You gonna play the right way. You play the right way. You knock their ass off. You stay off the fucking ground. You tackle the fucking man with the ball. The shit's easy. Play the right shit. Punish their ass on offense and kick their ass on special teams, guys. It's about who the fuck we are. I believe in you. Let's go.
Well, maybe we should have had a warning on that for folks that are listening to this on the podcast. But also, Anthony Spano is going to be very mad at you, Roddy, because he did not cuss at all when he came on, and then Kirby just ran through the wall.
Well, it's making the rounds. It's been sent to me 300 or 400 times. It is everywhere. That is Kirby.
Miss Mary's in here, Roddy.
Sorry, Miss Mary.
Who said something on Monday? I'll have to go listen again.
What did he say? Did he say talk about Fox on Monday? Is that what he says? when I was on Fox on Monday.
Or said something. I was in that box on Monday, or what I heard what he said, and I don't know.
I hope it's like Shannon Sharp on that morning show, and he just said something offhand, and Kirby took
Hey,
it.
y'all see Miss? Y'all tell me about Miss Mary.
Yeah, there she is. That's my coach.
That's my coach. This ain't no wilting flower. This is a Bulldog fan. Damn it.
You know what you just played is going to turn into like 14 T-shirts from all these different companies.
It'd be fine. Again, I know Kirby does not want that out there more than likely. I hate when they leak stuff like that for his sake, but I love it for our sake. And people say, well, why would you put it out there? Look, it's already out there. It's already been shared to the board. At least we're going to throw some photos with it and show it. But I'm just telling you, when you see why they beat a team by 58 points.
That's why, huh?
That might be it. Yep.
POS after dark. You're right. It is 1 a.m. It is 1 a.m.
I was about to say like 1 a.m. You get what you get at this point, but then Paul
said Miss Mary's not that life. No good says play it again.
Go to our YouTube page. It's there.
Hey, Miss K Jones, she said, boys, there are a few ladies watching / listening. That you can get on Roddy for that. But
man, we all went to UGA. The women say worse.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. They do. They do. G McNeil, then dogs are hell. Yeah. I mean, that Walker dog. Kirby got that dog in him. Yeah, that'll make you run through a brick wall right there. I mean, you're sitting in that locker room and your coach says that. Yeah, man, I'm going out there to play for you.
The funny part to me is that in juxtaposition with like the amount of times this year that I was told that like Stetson Bennett would yell back at coaches in practice just because he's like, I have that kind of confidence now. And
he's
like
25 and has a mortgage. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty funny. Anyway. Yeah. Like it was always in a way, it's just like we all want to get better. You see that. Like it was never disrespect, but that's just part of the culture.
Ty 2 times says I'm playing that before work every morning for the rest of my life.
Yes. Look over the board. Let's go to the dog bin real quick and post it over there.
Speaking of posts,
ringtone.
I brought up the post from Miss Bennett. We brought that up. That's pretty wild. Did you see that?
No, I missed that.
Yeah. Stetson's mom posted on the board.
Made her first post.
Yeah.
But she's been a member since 2015.
She had told me, she told me years ago, well, actually a year ago, that if Stetson came back and when he was done playing, she'd come on the board and say hello to everybody. She reads the board a lot, you know. So here's the thing, folks. When you're talking about these players, even if they are 25, they're still someone's son. They're still someone's brother. They're still someone's grandchild. They're still someone's they're someone's father sometimes. You know, they are human beings. We sort of look at them as numbers and players and stuff like that, but they are actual human beings. And I was watching Kirby just run around and hug guys. And Stacey Searles went up to one of his defensive linemen and was talking to him right in his ear. Some of the players were just the ecstasy and the relief, you know, the celebration, the pure joy. It's small. Okay, you get it in very tiny windows, and it's after a game. But it's like, as Kirby's talking about in that speech there, it's like, you know, you've worked for this all week. You've busted your tail. Now you got to go do it for 60 minutes. And it's hard. Look at the strain they had against Ohio State. And then they get to go into the locker room and jump around for 10, 20 minutes. And then it's back to work. So let's just keep that in mind. You know, there are perks that come with it, but it's a hard job. And so when we're criticizing these guys, we're ripping on a guy for getting beat on a route or not making the right cut. We can criticize. That's what we do. But at the same time, just remember not to ever make it personal, because mom's on the board. She's reading this. Let's not trash her child personally. So shout out to Miss Bennett. She might get a statue too.
Jim K says Kirby was talking about his 10-year-old crying because Stetson was finally leaving.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to watch that Kirby Smart press conference. We'll have that for you guys over here on the UJ Sports YouTube page as well. If it's not already up now, it should be up soon. I'm sure.
Think about how quickly this page turns, like you said, Roddy. That like, all right, first day of classes on campus was today, and so players get back. You're probably gonna have, even Coach Donnan said on the show tonight, you're probably looking at like 10 guys transferring out. And then you have new guys coming in, potentially more transfers coming in. And then spring ball starts in what, like 6 weeks? 6 or 8 weeks?
8 weeks?
No,
about 8 weeks.
It's
right?
middle of March. 8 weeks, about 2 months.
Yeah.
But like that's quick in terms of like roster management stuff.
Oh yeah. No, I agree 100%. And it's a bunch of new faces. So
I mean, it's why you get paid $11.5 million a year. So like I'm not providing sympathy for that, but I'm just saying like it's a hard job.
Does he get another raise?
Yeah.
You know what I told someone, Paul? I said any economist would tell you this, supply and demand, right? If Kirby decided he wanted to take a year off and then just come back with a new contract, he'd probably get like $25 million a year if he wanted to.
Dear God. Yeah, I mean
it wouldn't work that way. Totally get it. And he wouldn't do that. He loves UGA too much, but any economist will tell you that.
Well, here's a good one from Robert. He says, raise your hand if you thought Johnston would have more than 3 yards. Yeah, I'm with you. They locked him down completely.
I thought for a half a second there, Branson Robinson was going to be Georgia's leading rusher.
He was close.
After the game, when Warren McClendon came up and he kind of bear hugs me, and I looked at him. I'm like, man, did you have any idea this was going to happen? He was like, no, not at all. And he's got a voice that comes out of the soles of his shoes. Like, not at all. So even their dominance blew their mind. But again, just looking at how the offensive line for TCU was so short, fat, round. When you see Jalen Carter and Warren Brinson and Zion Logue and Stinch, Stackhouse. Those look like Formula One race cars. And the other guys look like, like I said, just barrels on with legs. And it was not pretty. So they just blew right past them. And then the other way, Georgia's offensive line, those mammoth guys just pushing TCU around. It was.
Did you see Darnell?
It looked like they were playing a high school field.
Darnell just had his guy like on a shopping cart. He just went like 15 yards with him.
I felt bad for Darnell. I'm proud that he went through some pain to get out there. He's a tough kid. He had that catch over the middle, and he was so frustrated that the guy actually hit him, dove into his legs and tackled him.
Yeah.
He wanted to score so bad.
He was going to.
You just had a huge run. He's like, damn it.
Yeah, he was definitely going to. If that guy didn't go for his legs, it was nobody in front of him. He had it.
There's going to be a lot of talk about. There's going to be a lot of talk about quarterback next year. What I'll tell you is that whoever the quarterback is, they're going to be good because they have Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey.
I mean, and Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett and
I agree with all that. And there's other Georgia receivers that are going to be great.
Dylan Bell.
And yeah. But I'm just look at what Ladd McConkey did tonight, and he's still not healthy.
Yeah.
Dylan Bell mentioned that, if I read it correctly, he was recruited to play linebacker.
Yeah, TCU. Yeah, I read that.
It looks like a linebacker, man. I'm just thinking
he doesn't look like a TCU linebacker. Those TCU linebackers are like round and thick. Yeah, one of them went to tackle Brock Bowers. It was number 6. Let me see if I can find his name real quick. Yeah, Hodge. He was their leading tackler with 7. He tackled Bowers on a play, and I mean he almost swallowed Bowers, and he was their linebacker. And Kirk Herbstreit was like, "Yeah, this guy's 245 pounds." I was like, "This dude's 265. There's no shot this guy's 45."
They mentioned that against Michigan, how those linebackers would fill the gaps and how thick they were, and the safeties, a bulky dude, and how hard they hit. And so that's what I was thinking, man, these guys are going to bring some wood. You can't. That's great if you can catch somebody. Georgia just ran past these guys. I mean, the Georgia get down to the goal line. I'm thinking, okay, they're going to bring the jump up package. They didn't need it. just a regular offensive lineman just pushed him back. I mean, it was embarrassing, just running around the edges. You know, Georgia had the toss sweep or the end of the round. It was available all night long because everybody on Georgia's team could make the edge, you know, and just blow them up at the point of attack repeatedly. So I'm just like, hey, we can just run around them whatever we want to. I figure it's going to be 19, 29, 18, 28, 38. just go around the edge nonstop. It was glorious.
Roddy, it was after the Tennessee game that I think I said it on here, and I said it in multiple places. I know I said it on our Tuesday show that I thought that Georgia had a dynasty then, just because of like when a team like Tennessee that's upstart and feels great about itself comes in and just has all of its dreams extinguished at the hands of the team that actually is in charge. To me, that's the sign of a dynasty. Y'all push back and maybe fair. That's fine. And I think it's obvious that Georgia's in the midst of a dynasty now, however you want to define it. Can go away quickly. Just ask Clemson. But where do you've covered Georgia a long time, dude, like mid-90s and
93.
Yeah, early 90s. So, like, your perspective's just different than mine. So, like, based on what you've seen, what does this mean to the state?
Well, it means the state there will be nothing like the last one. That was my thing, or the I should say the first one, the one last year. It took so much pressure off of the fan base because you had so many close calls and the sense of relief. Plus, remember, it was 3 quarters of absolute hell. Georgia just was playing poorly. You were neck and neck with Alabama. You were just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Stetson had that fumble, INT, just looked bad, couldn't run it. And then, of course, the fourth quarter was amazing. This one, I thought, if they win this one, this will cement them as we say, the dynasty. It won't mean as much as last year. I'm wrong. I was wrong. When you beat a team like this and you set a record for going 15-0, perfect season, that puts you up there with that LSU team that did it. You are just looked at as maybe one of the best teams in college football. This wasn't your best team. Your better team was last year. And to be able to know that you lost 15 guys to the NFL, 13 to the transfer portal, and you went 15-0, and you only had one game that was close. One game. Well, I mean, maybe Missouri, but this is
that is funny. The closest 3 games, like 1 was Ohio State, obviously. 2 was Missouri, and 3 is probably Kent State.
Kent State, yeah. And Kent State ran that 3.35, so it's not expecting it to give Georgia a little more trouble, but they obviously learned from their mistakes. But you had the relief last year, the absolute dominance of you got to watch this year. And remember last year, you had so many people that were saying, well, it's a generational defense. It can't be replicated. You'll never do this again. Because last year you got past all the 1980 jokes, remember? And here's the thing. Every time a Georgia fan was talking to a Tennessee fan, a Florida fan, an Auburn fan, South Carolina, Georgia Tech, they'd throw 1980 in your face, 1980. No matter whatever you pointed to, how good your team was doing, how great your recruiting had been going, what awards your players won. 1980. It's the lowest, laziest comeback, but it was effective. You win one, and everybody's like, well, okay, you get one every 40 years. Well, screw that, too. Now you want them back-to-back. Nobody can say crap about your program. You played for 3 in 6 years. The Kirby was the coach who only knew how to recruit. He was once he got out from under Saban's influence, he wasn't going to be a good coach. He was just going to crash and burn. You saw that first year, the struggles he had going to get his butt kicked at Ole Miss. When's the last time he lost an East game? This guy's just
South
killing
Carolina,
it.
19.
Yeah, Jesus. You are part of a dynasty, and now you've gone from everybody was kind of pulling for you to finally get past Alabama to now everyone hates you because you're going to spend 2 years on top, maybe 3. And it's going to be glorious. So what it means for the state, we've not had we had it once with the Braves. Haven't had it with the Falcons. You know,
Georgia's team.
Georgia's team. You took the words right out of my mouth. This is Georgia's team. You know, even the casual fans. You know, not the diehards who are with us. 500 people watching this. What's the local time back in Athens?
1:15.
Yeah, 1:15. Yeah, 500 people watching us. You know, these are the fans that you expected, but just the casual fans are like, "This is my team." There are kids watching this who are 7, 8, 9 years old. They've watched Georgia win 2 titles.
Yeah.
They know that you can win titles at Georgia. One of them is probably going to, by the time he's 17, can run like a 4.29, catch everything in the air. You know, that kid's going to spend the next few years thinking about playing in Georgia. It just builds and builds and builds. You know, the pride, the mentality that Georgia is a winner. And hell, it leads to other things. You know, it's going to bring in more money, and all of a sudden you're competitive in other sports. Shout out to Mike White and the basketball team, and Tom Black in volleyball. You know, just saying it grows. You know, you got Coach A, the women's basketball team. This is it's good for the program. It's good for the university. It's good for the state. And
One of the
I saw Josh Brooks. I'm like, you just got made the athletic director. Now you got two freaking titles. I'm good, aren't I? He didn't say that, but he was just like, yeah. So he knows he's in a great spot too. So
one of the reasons that any of us do this kind of work is just because, like, to see up close how hard it is to be excellent at something that's this difficult. And I actually thought during the pandemic, when The Last Dance came out and Michael Jordan's, it was slanted in a lot of ways, but you just got to see the mentality that it takes to become a Michael Jordan and be the best at what you do. And Kirby Smart is a master motivator. And it's really funny to me that, like, on a night like tonight, when like some of the motivation techniques are going to come a little bit empty based on just the circumstances, like he had to really go deep into his bag, because they come up to him at halftime and like, what do you tell your team? And he's like, well, TCU is a really good third quarter team.
Yeah.
They've been doing that all year. And, you know, we haven't had great third quarters. So, you know,
you never know. Stay tuned. You know, he was like previewing a soap opera on a Friday. He's like, please, a cliffhanger, stay around for after the halftime show.
Then they go up to him after the game, and like it's this massive win, and Georgia played all its backups for like a quarter, and he's just like, well, you know, it's times like this where complacency can creep into your program, and we're seeing it a little bit. I'm just like, dude, it's okay to live in the moment, but that's why he is who he is, and it's why I talk about things for a living and don't get paid nearly as much money. He's a master at that piece of it, that you're always thinking about that next step, because if you don't, someone else is.
Well, here's the thing. He has said this every time I've heard him talk about it. It's hard to get here. It's hard to get back here. And you are a missed field goal away from not being here. You are a fourth quarter comeback against Missouri, maybe, for not being here. A ball can go wrong. A ball can bounce the wrong way, and it takes luck, but it also takes a ton of preparation. He said earlier in the week, there's the standard. You know, he mentioned that we would not be hunted. But I'm pretty sure after that 2017 game where they lost to Alabama, he said we will be back. I need to go find that. It was something along those lines. And it took him a couple of years, but he's back. But he said, the preparation for the years. You don't wait till the summer. It's the Tuesday after the national championship game. And literally last year, right after they won the first one, they were right back at it. And like you said, in 6 to 8 weeks, you're already doing spring practice. The day after the championship, all those kids hit the portal. We pulled over on the side of the road to break all the news of who all we thought was going. And we killed it. We nailed almost every one of them that was going into the portal. So hopefully, we'll get a heads up and can do that tomorrow. Let people know, who's going where, what we're hearing at least. But he'll celebrate this. But I guarantee you, well, tomorrow he's got a press conference, 9 o'clock locals, noon. There'll be the winners press conference. So
someone told me parade's likely Saturday. I don't know if that's for sure, but
Wasn't that what happened last time? So I think they lined, and again, what did they do last year? They lined up the parade with a recruiting weekend.
Yep.
So they brought in a ton of recruits and said, this could be you. Some of those kids signed. It was them, you know.
if it's
Some
Saturday,
early
once
rollies.
again, it's going to be like frigid kind of cold, and Kirby can break out the parka and look like a president coming out to give him a dress at the State of the Union.
So I can see it, but I'm just saying it's he's going to be working on this, and because he knows the point being, it's so hard to get to these games. You know, it's not always dominant like what we saw this year. So
No, I to kind of piggyback off that, Roddy, I think last year was so special because you finally beat the big brother Alabama. Like you showed that you could do it. Not only that, but you got over that hump. 40-year drought. It's no longer there. Now this year, it just shows that you belong. I mean, 65-7. This is the biggest blowout in college football history, BCS football history. I mean, it's as lopsided as you can get in a championship game. Now, like Dane said, I think you're into a dynasty, and this train isn't stopping. That's what I've been saying all night. This train isn't stopping. It's just gaining more steam. Yeah, you have a different quarterback next year, and you never know how that's going to play out, right? We
Ask
think
LSU. LSU had that season and didn't have anything to back it up with.
right, but we think Carson Beck is going to be good, you know, but we don't know that. He could get out there and wet the bed, but we think he's going to be good. The defense we know is going to be good, and now you're rolling. You've got that momentum going, and I think that, you know, you had to get past Alabama. Once you got past Alabama, you kick that little brother syndrome aside, and now people are saying, hey, is Georgia now taking over Alabama? It's getting to that point. Last year was like, oh, Georgia beat Alabama, but Alabama will be back. They weren't there this year. Georgia was. So, you know, in Alabama, for however long it's going to take, is going to still get the recognition it deserves. Even if it were to pull in a 50th recruiting class in the nation, it would still get respect just because Nick Saban's there. But I think the tide is changing. No pun intended there, actually. But I think it's changing, and I think it's in Georgia's favor.
I'm about to slide out, guys, but two quick things. One, shout out to ASW Distillery for sponsoring this POS and just being good dudes. And the Fiddler's great, and I need more of it because, look, I drank all mine.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, send me some more, man. They're distilled by Dogs. We've talked about them all year long on this show, and thanks, Paul, for doing that. They're just good folks, and they're Georgia grads, and promise you they're celebrating hard tonight. So go to their tap rooms around Atlanta or wherever you buy your bourbon or vodka or gin. Just check out the stuff from ASW Distillery. The other thing, and I'll leave you with this. What's the spread for Georgia UT Martin?
Oh, boy. I'm pretty good at these. Let's go 32.5.
Let's mark it down. We'll check next year.
Yeah, 32.5.
42.
Yeah.
I don't know. New quarterback. Who knows? But yeah, it's going to be nuts.
Roddy, safe
Thank you,
travels
guys.
back. We'll see you when you're here. And you're a great boss, dude. I'm not just saying that because you pay me money to come do things for your website, but I really appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. I will see y'all later.
You're leaving too, Roddy?
Well, I'm about to get out of here myself. So
All right.
I gotta go.
Well. All right. See you, Dane.
You've been on a couple hours there. So.
Yeah, we have. We're out of here. But Chuck Ward, I want to give Chuck Ward a shout out. Great coverage all week, guys. Thanks for what you do. Home game next January, he says. Thank you for that, and thank you for everybody that stayed around with us for these last 2 hours. We appreciate you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed the game and got to enjoy with Coach Don and Dane, and enjoy all the content on UGAsports.com. This post-game overreaction show brought to you by ASW Distillery, the Rogue Shop. Make sure to check those guys out. And if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. So we appreciate you so much.
The first person to send me congratulations was our buddies at the Rogue Shop.
Nice.
They're like, hey, congrats. I'm like, I didn't play, but I appreciate it. I'll pass it along to the Georgia fans. But I'm telling you, Richard at Rogue, he loves the Bulldogs. You know, he's a big fan. That's his second best favorite team. He was rooting for him. He always gets excited. He was excited about the win over Ohio State. So that guy just absolutely lives and breathes college football. So shout out to him.
But guys, I appreciate all of you guys. All right, Roddy, take it out. I'm gonna get us out of here, but I'll see you later. Guys, we appreciate you so much for jumping on with us throughout the year on this POS. It would not be possible without all of you guys that watch. There's way too many of you guys to name, so I can't even start to do that. What I can do, though, is say thank you so much for watching, listening to on the podcast. It's been a great year. It's tapped off with another Georgia national championship. And guys, we'll be back at it with the Sunday call-in show here soon. We'll have, the call-in show for you guys on Sunday nights instead of the POS. But again, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you hit that like button. Like I always say, smash that like button. And to everybody that watched, everybody that called in, we appreciate you so much. Hope you guys get some rest and can make it to work tomorrow. We'll talk to you later on. See ya.